Well, good morning. Bonjour. Thank you, Marc-Antoine, for the introduction. Seth, welcome.
Thank you.
Delighted to be here with you.
Yeah.
So this is a fascinating time for retail, as we've just heard, and lots of conversation about the rapid transformation and the challenges in the external environment. And so, Seth, maybe from your perspective, from the Walmart perspective, you could begin and just share a little bit about, given inflation, given the way consumer behavior has changed over the last few years, how are consumers feeling right now? What are you seeing in terms of the way they're behaving in the current environment?
Well, I'll speak to the U.S. Sort of behaviors that we're seeing at Walmart. And given the global nature of the presentation before, I know that may offer a little more context for what we're seeing in the States. Inflation and price, similar to the information that we just saw in the Havas study, are very important for consumers. Consideration for which retailer they choose to shop at, the types of products or brands that they decide to buy. We've seen some interesting things happen post-pandemic. So one, the US consumer in the sort of lower household income category, they're continuing to find real value with Walmart. They're very price conscious, and our offer of everyday low prices and helping consumers save money and live better, which is Walmart's purpose, really resonates with that consumer audience and has been resonating for a long time. Behaviors that we're seeing in the middle household income bracket for consumers in the US are interesting in that we are observing that the differences in price and inflation in price is creating new opportunities for private label products, where the brands that many consumers have been buying when they had more discretionary income, consumers are actually open to trying private label brands that may have a better price point and an acceptable level of quality. We're finding that consumer segment as well has less discretionary income to spend. So things like apparel and general merchandise tend to be impacted more so than food and consumables or fast-moving consumer goods. Those latter two categories have been growing very well for Walmart, as our earnings report, that's public information. But the adoption of new behaviors for how consumers are shopping those categories across all income segments is changing as well. And we're observing that the omni-channel offer, it was referred to here as click and collect. We refer to it as online pickup and delivery, that offering consumers the opportunity to shop in the app or in a digital environment and then pick up the items that they're shopping for at the physical store is a retail offering that is resonating with consumers in the US. And then lastly, I would say that the higher household income consumer in the US, which has not traditionally been a category that is shopped at Walmart stores, historically has been one of the faster growing consumer segments for our business. People are maybe looking to price for the first time as being a determinant of where they're going to shop. Walmart has the right brands on the shelf and they're priced well. So even that higher household income consumer that maybe has not given us the opportunity to meet their trip occasion in the past, they're now coming to Walmart for the first time and saying, well, I can find the brands that I like, that I've traditionally shopped for, at a really strong price point with the convenience that I may expect from any retailer at this point in an omni perspective. So I think we're meeting demand across both low, middle, and high income households in the US right now.
So, you make an interesting point. Part of the Havas study talks about the things consumers really value in this environment, in the inflationary environment. And so part of it is pricing, and certainly now through COVID, there's more sensitivity to convenience. So the everyday low prices and the save money, live better is in Walmart's kind of been there already, even before the current sort of transformation that's taking place.
Yeah.
And Walmart's got an enormous advantage in the store footprint in the U.S. in the sense that we saw in the U.S. The store, somewhat counterintuitively, became even more important in many ways for fulfillment, delivery, click and collect, or buy online, pick up in store, some of the things you just referenced. And so it's a real advantage, and now for fulfillment, not only local markets, but markets sort of regionally.
Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about, in an environment where we're talking about online and omni-channel and digital and e-commerce, how important the store still is to meeting consumers' demand and their expectations?
Yeah, it's very important, and again, if you follow if you're obsessed about the customer, and
as you are, as Walmart is.
You want to be able to meet the customer wherever they decide to shop, in whatever format they decide to shop in. So we have the opportunity to meet the customer in a physical store environment. We have 4,600 stores in the US, so that's a lot of stores. We're within 10 miles of about 95% of US households. So if you want to go to the store physically to pick up an item, we offer that opportunity for many US households. If we don't have the item in the store, we offer the opportunity of a large and robust e-commerce website as well, and app. And so in either case, we can meet the customer wherever they decide to shop. But in the previous presentation, the discussion about the importance of the marketplace, for us, we're investing heavily in our marketplace offering as a way to build assortment. So we know that customers have an expectation that they can find any product they want, right, really at any time that they want to find it. And if you're able to meet that expectation in the app, then we can dramatically expand the assortment that we offer. There's obvious limitations to the shelf in the physical store, so we can't carry everything. But the wonderful thing about the marketplace and investing there is that we can not only meet the customer demand that they can find anything that they want and just order it on their phone if it's not available in the store, but also if you're a new brand or a challenger brand that has had difficulty getting distribution on the physical retail shelf, the marketplace offers a really important opportunity for you to find an audience with the customer, drive awareness, drive trial, and ultimately purchase and repeat. And so all of the principles that have historically applied to physical store retailing also apply to the digital shelf. But the expansion and the number of products you can offer there is so much greater. So anytime that we can offer a customer the experience to find what they're looking for, if they can also find something new, or the serendipity of shopping and finding a new product or offer, and then we can build a brand from the digital space into the physical store, we see that as a real opportunity for us as a omni-channel retailer.
Yeah. So now maybe going slightly in the other direction from the stores, and sort of the urgency with which retailers in general need to continue to transform the business in the digital world. We spoke last night about your journey from a number of technology companies, Amazon and Microsoft and Yahoo and Instacart, and back to Amazon and now here, and the transformation that you've seen. And so how would you describe the moment in time currently for legacy bricks and mortar retailers to take advantage of what's happening on the e-commerce and digital side to really continue delivering that customer experience?
Yeah, well, I mean, look no further than the study that was just shared before taking the stage. Customers have an expectation that they can find really anything that they want at any time. And there are limitations to physical retail in that sense. Many stores are not open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so having an online component allows them to serve customers in ways maybe they haven't been able to do before. But one thing that I've learned, and we talked about this last night as well, in my experience, one of the sort of final consumer behaviors to tip into the digital space or into e-commerce was grocery shopping. And shopping for fresh foods and consumable items. And it's difficult to put broccoli or ice cream or cream cheese into a cardboard box and ship it and have it show up in any format that a customer would enjoy. And so when you have the option to deliver that product, the fresh product, produce or protein to a customer from a physical store that you have as a fulfillment node, and that's really a differentiator for many physical like retailers, brick and mortar retailers. If they're able to complement their brick and mortar footprint with an e-commerce footprint, then it allows them some distribution advantages that maybe don't exist for pure play, or that pure play e-commerce companies will struggle or have to invest heavily to build. And we've, in the US, seen the adoption of consumers shopping for groceries online accelerate very quickly. Now, I know here in France and in the EU, consumers are quite comfortable shopping for groceries online. It's still a new and developing behavior in the United States, and one thing that's been interesting that we've seen at Walmart is that we offer the delivery of the groceries, so you can create a basket of goods and we can deliver them to your home or to your doorstep. But then we also offer the opportunity to drive to the store or pick up the items, which I believe we refer to here as click and collect. That offering for consumers has been very, very popular. The interesting thing is that more and more of the baskets that consumers are creating are done in the phone. So the origin of the creation of the basket is digital in nature. And that creates a different marketing and sort of merchandising opportunity for the brands and for the retailer. If you're not paying attention to how customers are shopping in the app, the convenience or utility that you're offering in your app, especially for groceries, then you will be challenged. Grocery baskets may have anywhere from 10 to 30 different items depending on the trip occasion. It's a very different shopping experience than picking out a book or spearfishing a iPhone charger or something along those lines. So the consumer's expectations are changing very, very rapidly. And if you're an omni-channel retailer, I think you have the opportunity to meet the customer wherever they decide to shop.
So, and specific to that, then how's Walmart launching new programs, Walmart Plus and others, to try to meet that expectation and deliver that value?
Well, the Walmart Plus, for those of you that don't know, is our membership program that offers free delivery either from e-commerce with no shipping minimums or for grocery delivery. And that's been a very popular offer. It's almost 3 years old now, so it's relatively new for our customers. But it also happens to be showing us the way with groceries, where all of the behaviors that I just mentioned are they're observable in that environment, and we think it's important to offer our customers the opportunity to have some type of savings associated with those deliveries. You're sending an associate around the store to pick the items for a customer and then to actually put them in a car and deliver them to the doorstep, or in some cases into the home. We have an in-home capability where our associates are bringing those groceries inside the home of the customer. That requires a certain level of trust. And then the offer of convenience, really important. You saw that in the previous study as well, convenience and price. And just the ease of being able to buy those groceries like we recognize that people want to shop that way, and then how do we create a program that allows them to do it that is in line with our save money, live better, purpose.
Yeah. That last in the U.S. at least, we speak a lot about from a delivery fulfillment perspective, the last mile, but there's also sort of the last 100 feet that into the door.
Yep.
And sorting that out over time to create that level of trust.
Yep.
Is a real opportunity. So one of the other things that the study identified, and that I know Walmart has invested in enormous, you and the rest of the C-suite team and John and Doug, is in sustainability and how that figures into customer choice and customer decision making. And not only because it's a value that is embraced by customers and by companies, but because there's a real business benefit as well. There's efficiencies to be gained. How do you think about how the notion of sustainability fits into the conversation on omni and consumer behavior, expectations, things like that?
Well, it's certainly a topic of conversation for us back at headquarters. One specific example might be when we're delivering to groceries to customers, are we using an electric vehicle fleet? So that's the type of maybe sustainability focus or lens that we bring to new business opportunities that we discuss. We'll, I think, also look with our supplier partners at the ways that they manufacture products, or just to understand, are we, being attentive to sustainability? We look at our electricity footprint of our physical stores and across a whole host of different functions within our business, but then also within some of our supplier partners as well. It's a topic that we've discussed and we'll continue to focus on.
Yeah. One of the, and you alluded to this, but last night we discussed sort of on the grocery side specifically, the magic that takes place getting the produce in particular into the home and onto the table, that in the U.S. we sort of take for granted. And we also discussed, and I think as you said has been observed, that during the pandemic in the U.S. there was a rapid adoption of certain of fulfillment, pickup in store or delivery, that has somewhat settled, but still higher than it was pre-pandemic. There are a number of other consumer behaviors in the U.S. that existed before the pandemic, but certainly accelerated dramatically as a result of the pandemic. And so when you think of some of those behaviors for different segments and categories of the marketplace, where do you think of opportunities and challenges or possibilities for new services?
Well, certainly within the grocery delivery space, it's similar to what was experienced here. During the pre-pandemic, probably higher level of adoption for online grocery shopping or click and collect here in the EU, but then maybe peaked, accelerated very rapidly during the pandemic, and then maybe came back down. There's been no, at least in our experience, a reversion back to pre-pandemic levels. The amount of business and the adoption of grocery shopping or online pickup and delivery has been exciting for us as an opportunity. Yeah. Customers are, I think, they were forced,
right,
because of the pandemic, to stay home and then maybe try to shop for groceries for the first time by necessity because they couldn't leave their homes. And in fact, many of those behaviors, once they tried them, became durable. Now, we may not see the same levels of frequency that we saw at the peak of the pandemic, but the level of adoption pre-pandemic was so low that now post-pandemic it's been a durable trend. And we continue to see that trend increase at Walmart in a way that's really exciting for us to invest behind. As more customers become more comfortable shopping for or building their baskets in an online environment, if they decide to come to the store and have the groceries delivered to their car, or if they decide to just skip the store altogether and have them delivered to their doorstep, we have to continually improve on that process. We're just getting started, we're learning a ton. We focus a lot on the customer feedback about the experience and just here's what we liked about it, here's what we didn't like about it. So we hear very positively about our price position. So similar to the presentation that we saw before, price really an important determinant about where a customer will decide to shop or which brands they will buy. But then also the convenience, are you offering the right number of pickup slots or times? I mean, there's huge operational complexities with offering this level of service, particularly at if you're used to or have a history of brick and mortar retail where the logistics of the operation were really for managing your inventory on the way in the store, less so about managing the inventory on the way out. And now you're managing, fleets of customer vehicles coming in the store. Right. When do you schedule them? You don't want lines of customers backed up where they're waiting for a long time to pick up their groceries. So it works like it challenges us as a retailer to be really good about meeting having the right inventory in place for the customer to find and buy at the right price, but then making sure that it gets to their doorstep or their car or in their basket, however they decide to do it, quickly. Yeah. So we'll continue to invest there, but I think that's not unique to Walmart. I think that's something that all conventional grocers or brick and mortar retailers is both an opportunity and a challenge for them.
And another area that it seems retailers in the U.S. have begun investing in more heavily and recognizing opportunity is when you think about the online marketplaces and living in the digital world, that if consumers are there and they're engaged, there are advertising opportunities, there are entertainment opportunities. Sure. You've launched a program, Walmart Connect, that sort of fits in the retailtainment space. And given the history that you have in other businesses and seeing these things come to light, could you share a little bit about how you see the future of that evolving, both at Walmart but for other retailers as well?
Sure. So Walmart Connect, for those of you that don't know, is our retail media business. So we allow brands or suppliers, as we refer to them, manufacturers, to promote their products in our e-commerce store via paid search results or graphical display or even video units. And it's important that, and why you've seen the rapid adoption and growth of retail media across the advertising space, as well as the acceptance from suppliers or manufacturers, is that the e-commerce shopping environment is very different for a brand in terms of your placement or distribution. And while there are opportunities to get your product on the shelf, there are no physical limitations. So as long as you can make the product available to be shipped, you still have an awareness challenge, and maybe a greater awareness and consideration challenge than the brands that have historically been on the shelf at the physical store. This is particularly true with marketplace or with suppliers and manufacturers that work in the marketplace. If you don't offer the brand or that manufacturer to promote their product, to get in front of the customer when they're building the basket in their phone, then they won't be able to sell. Right. And so I believe that marketplace sort of supplier or manufacturer has really been critical to the growth of the retail media offerings, regardless of whether they're from Walmart or any other retailer. Because when you invest, or when the manufacturers invest in promoting their products there, you can then measure the exposure. Did someone see my product? Did they then take an action and click on my product? Did they then add the product to their basket? Did they then buy the product? If they bought the product, what financial instrument did they use when they bought the product, and then did they eventually come back and repeat purchase? So did they add a customer review and create some word of mouth opportunity? All of those behaviors are observable and measurable in e-commerce with real factual certainty. In the physical store environments, you may have to use different types of methods of research in order to capture that behavior that may be less precise and may be limited, or will in fact be limited to those products that are in fact on the shelf at the store. So when you think about the retail media as a advertising offering similar to social media or similar to search, these things to me are very much an evolution. First you had search as a way, a new consumer behavior for people to discover products or information, and then within that context retail became a pretty heavily used feature. And then social media became a way for people to engage and communicate with one another, and as that audience expanded and grew, retailers play an important role in that, as do brands. And then ultimately, when at the point of purchase, when people are coming in to shop, is the store environment or that commerce environment merchandised in a way where those products can be discovered and purchased? And that's really the past, I'd say, 5 or 6 years has accelerated in ways that have been surprising to many people.
Yeah. So it's probably very obvious and a simplistic thing to say that there's more data available on consumers today than any time before in history, and you just gave some great examples of how that comes to life in a real world fashion and then makes it actionable and predictive for retailers. And Walmart's made investments there, Walmart Data Ventures, that adds value throughout the business operationally, efficiencies, driving sales, consumer engagement. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure, and that's another area of investment that retailers just writ large will have to be conscious of, understanding where your inventory is at any given point in time, who's bringing it to you when you're receiving it, and then is the product or is that inventory in a store? If it's in the store, is it in the back of the store or is it on the shelf? If it's on the shelf, when did it leave the shelf? How many turns? Is the shelf environment where that product is being displayed compliant with what I've agreed to with my merchant partner in terms of, you know, where it sits, how many linear inches or feet of the shelf do I get? These are all areas of the retail business that are data driven, but editorially have lacked some precision. We're investing heavily to understand more about and work with our suppliers who have requested more information. So we need up-to-date tools. We'd like to have information about inventory pricing, how much inventory moved out of very specific store numbers and to whom with high recency. So we can, we're investing in products that will allow a manufacturer to see, hey, 24 hours ago, here's how many products I sold at this particular store in this particular location. And if you can then deliver that in an API or some type of technical format that will allow a data scientist to interrogate the data in ways that will allow them to say, let's say on Monday, I would normally send my delivery person to this particular store, and on Tuesday they go to a different store, and on Thursday or Wednesday they're just on a specific route.
Right.
If you knew or were able to point those people in directions where the inventory is needed, and keep them away from places where you have plenty of inventory, well then the efficiencies for those suppliers and for the retailer become evident. So if we can invest in data that allows our suppliers to get smarter, then they can become more efficient, and then it helps support the everyday low cost. We can take those efficiencies and give them back to the customer. I'll also share that data has application for our merchants as well. So people, store operators, people who are buying, how much do you buy? Where do you send the inventory? And then when you're planning a category, and this is what, my experience has been digital and technology, but planograms are really important parts of physical retail. How much space you give to a brand, how many end caps or mods or features are allowed at seasonally important times, business critical decisions. If they're not informed by data, then they're less precise. So the more data that you have around what customers are looking for, how frequently they purchase, or give you confidence that adding a new product for innovation or a new brand at the expense of something else because there are opportunity costs, that is an incredible accelerant for how you make the store experience better for the customer when they decide to visit in person. So we use that data both for our supplier partners and for our store operators.
Yeah, both sides of the market. So as we wrap up, then I guess I'll ask I saved the easiest question for last, which is, as you look out at the landscape, how do you think about the future of retail?
Well, the biggest observation to me, like I mentioned, my career has been spent in e-commerce and technology. And coming to Walmart, which is a capital R retailer, the largest, with the largest physical store footprint that I've ever encountered, the complementary nature of digital shopping and physical store operations, while it sounds obvious, like, oh, of course you want both, the opportunity for growth there is really astounding. Yeah. And if you come from one particular place and you don't have experience in both channels, I find that to be a limiter. So I had many preconceptions about the way physical retail stores worked. Prior to my working in the grocery space with conventional grocers, where I mentioned I have a real appreciation for the operational miracle of bringing produce or fruit off a tree, out of the ground, into a truck, onto the into the store, into a basket, into the consumer's home, and then ultimately in their tummy. I think that's discounted, and when you can understand how that works and the same principles that are applied to bringing that experience to the customer can be used in the digital space, well, then I think you have the real complementary nature and you're able to meet the customer wherever they decide to shop. If you're not looking to those things and you want to operate exclusively in one channel, that may work for very specific niche retail categories, but for a general merchandiser, big box merchandiser like Walmart, we have to meet the customer wherever they decide to shop. So paying attention to both those things is really the future. If you're not paying attention to them, then you'll be missing an opportunity. Yeah, well, Seth, that's well said, and I think our view in the U.S. continues to be that the future is what it's always been, which is it's about the customer. And where is the customer? What do they need? When do they need it? How do they want it? And trying to solve that by being better merchants. Yep. So Seth Dallaire of Walmart, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you all. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the time.
Well, thank you very much, Seth, for sharing your experience. It's a real treat to have you here at Paris Retail Week. And thank you, Matt, for your views from the USA. Partageons maintenant un regard et un retour d'expérience de retailers français avec deux enseignes, Leroy Merlin et Auchan, accompagnés aussi par la FCD, la Fédération du commerce et de la distribution. Je vous demande d'accueillir très fort le directeur général d'Auchan France, Philippe Brochard, le directeur général délégué de Leroy Merlin, Marc de Lausanne, et le délégué général de la FCD, Jacques Cressel.